Good afternoon, old gun guy here. Welcome to my America's Cartridge video. The 3006 Springfield, and the rifle will be the Winchester Model 70, made by the original Winchester company. This is a post-64 model, and I'll get into the rifle. It's a very fine, very beautiful rifle. The 3006 Springfield, this cartridge here, started out as a military cartridge at the very turn of the 20th century. I'm not going to go too much into the military history of it. Suffice to say that the Germans had invented the 7mm Mauser and the 8mm Mauser in the last decade of the 19th century, smokeless powder cartridge. And the Americans are apparently impressed, and I believe this is descended from one of the Mauser cartridges, although they'll never admit it. But it's the same case head dimensions, 473 thousandths of an inch, just a longer case. American military started experimenting with a copy of the Mauser rifle, the 1903, and the cartridge that came out was essentially this cartridge. It was called the 3003. It was loaded with a 200 grain 30 caliber round nose bullet, like the 3040 Krag Jorgensen military round that the U.S. had currently in service. A little more experimenting and copying the Europeans and the Germans. They lightened the bullet. I think it was 174 grains, and reintroduced it in 1906, hence the designation 30 caliber-06, 30-06, it's abbreviated to. Served the United States military in 2 world wars and other various other conflicts. But like all military cartridges, U.S. military cartridges, they became immensely popular with the shooting public, and soon commercial and civilian rifles began to be chambered in this cartridge. People were impressed with its power and its performance. It does a lot of things well. It's about the most recoil the average shooter can handle without developing some type of flinch. It's about 20 foot-pounds of recoil in a 8-pound rifle. Reasonably flat shooting, wide variety of bullets, extremely versatile hunting cartridge, sporting cartridge, and obviously the military cartridge. I won't go into all the variations. We're dealing with the commercially adopted 3006 Springfield. This particular round has a 200 grain Sierra Game King bullet on it. It's a hand load. Many rifle manufacturers manufactured rifles in the new 3006 cartridge. Winchester came out, they had a Model 54 bolt action rifle, and then it evolved into the Model 70, the famous Model 70, which was basically a modified Mauser action. It had, two locking lug bolt, forward part of the bolt, and a big external claw extractor. The one improvement over the Mauser is it didn't have a ejector slot cut through the left-hand side bolt lug, so it gave it a little more strength. It was underneath. But basically it was a modified Mauser, and became wildly popular. They called it the rifleman's rifle. Yeah, I've shot a few, I've handled a few. They're nice guns. I don't think they're any nicer than these post-64 ones, but that's just my opinion. In fact, I think this is actually an improved rifle over the Mauser knockoff. The control route around feeding is basically designed for a dangerous game. Hot environments, you get a sticky case. It's got a little more camming action, get a spent cartridge case out of the chamber. But of all the Winchesters I fired, including this one, I've never had difficulty with it. Even when some of my hand loads are a little on the warm side and the bolt got a little sticky, pull the case right out. And that's a sign of excessive pressure when it gets hard to open a bolt. Let's go off into the weeds. President Roosevelt took his son to Africa to hunt with the 3006, and I believe he had one hunting trip with the famous, I guess he was Rhodesia's, Sellis, John Sellis, you know, a hunting guide and adventurer. And they shot just about every African game with a 30-06. Is it optimum for dangerous game? Absolutely not. But they killed dangerous game with the cartridge. Shot placement and, you know, bullet. Shot placement trumps everything, really. And they harvested many game. The 30-06 cartridge has been, I'll go over the basics. It's 30 caliber, 308 thousandths of an inch projectile. The case is 63 millimeters long, so it's like 2.5 inches in length. 473 thousandths is the case head diameter, just like the earlier 8 millimeter Mauser. Large rifle primer. It operates at 60,000 pounds per square inch max chamber pressure as per SAMI. The useful bullet range, and it's loaded with today, is from 110 to 220 grains in bullet weight. You can hand load some 100 grain plinkers, you know, plinker type bullets, and in the distant past it had a sabot loading by Remington. It had a 55 grain 223 projectile and a plastic sabot accelerator. I think the muzzle velocity was over 4,000 feet a second out of a 30-06 case, but I don't think it was very accurate, and it just faded away. But today you can find commercial ammunition loaded in that weight range. Makes a fine cartridge for just about all North American game. Can you take large Alaskan bears with this? Yes, and they have been taken with this. Are there better calibers suited for that? Yes. Can it get the job done? Yes, it has sufficient power with the proper bullet. You know, the heavyweight bullets, 200 grain, 220 grain. The monolithics, yes, you would achieve adequate penetration. Elk, bear, you name it, North and South America. It's one of the most popular sporting cartridges in the world to this day. When I did the 30-30 series, the other America's Sweetheart, this is America's Sweetheart too. If you go anywhere in the country or Canada, whatever, if you can find 22 long rifle on the shelf, the next round you're gonna find is probably 30-30 Winchester, and the third round you'll find in a little mom and pop store is the 30-06 Springfield. Universally popular and universally useful. It's to this day, it's one of the most successful and popular hunting cartridges. Every gun manufacturer offers one of their rifles in the 30-06. It is extremely useful. The maximum effective range, I'm not talking about hunting, is about 1,000 yards for this cartridge. That's when it goes subsonic. It's been used in a sniper role by the U.S. military in the Second World War and into the Vietnam War. A famous Marine sniper used a Winchester Model 70 in his first tour in 30-06, this cartridge, to successfully engage a lot of North Vietnamese troops. His name was Carlos Hathcock, and it's quite a story if you ever read his biography. But he used basically a Winchester Model 70, you know, accurized a little bit. He had an inertial 8-power fixed 8-power scope on it, telescopic sight. His second tour he used a Remington 700. The military, the Marine Corps migrated to the 700 action. But that's just a little piece of history there. Another odd fact that I'll throw in here, a little odd history. When they were developing this cartridge, in 1906, one of the requirements is it had to be able to kill a cavalry horse at 1,000 yards with I keep forgetting to turn the clock off. Well, one shot. So 1,000 yards had to kill a cavalry horse. That was one of the ordnance requirements of the cartridge. Today you can get modern bullets. I have. I'm gonna do a terminal performance test with this. I'm gonna use this Hornady Super Performance ammunition with the 180 grain SST projectile. But for most of the shoot, I'm going to use either my hand loads. I have some 165 grain Sierra Game Kings. I have some 200 Game Kings. I have some Remington Core Lock with 65 grain. Core Lock PSP when I do the shooting demos. But like I said, the maximum effective range, 1,000 yards. It's been used as a target cartridge. So hunting, obviously I don't take shots beyond 350, but you know, it does have a nice, pretty flat trajectory for a non-magnum round. Depending on the bullet weight, the modern bullets, boat tail bullets, they fly a lot flatter. The maximum range of this cartridge, if you fire it about 35, 38 degrees off the horizon, is, according to Spear, for 180 grain boat tail, about 7,000, about 4.3 miles. That's a long distance. So that's why you want to be firing rifles into the air. I go into the rifle now. Like I said, Winchester made the Model 70, the pre-1964 version, had a control round feed. This is very similar to a Remington 700 action, which was their competitor after 1962. But it was adopted and popularized by an early gun writer, Jack O'Connor. He had it in 270 Winchester. That's another thing I should mention about the 3006. This gave birth to many, many cartridges, including the 308 and all of the 308's offspring, 243, 260 Remington, 7mm or 8, 338 Federal, 358 Winchester, and the 06, 2506, 270 Winchester, which is neck down to like 6 3/4 millimeters, 280 Remington or 7mm Express, 7mm 06. I don't know if the 338 06 was ever adopted by anybody. It might have been by Boutique Ammunition, but the 35 Whalen, this necked up to 35 caliber, and on and on. You know, it's extremely versatile case and cartridge. It'll fit in. Well, you need a longer action. Won't fit in a short action. Too long for that. But the 3006 standard size action. The Winchester Model 70, which this is made in 1979 by the original Winchester company. 1980, they sold it to the employees. It ran for almost another 10 years. They ran into bankruptcy, and Browning bought out the Winchester company. They made guns there in 2006. So this rifle was made in New Haven, Connecticut, in one form or another, from 1936, 70 years later, to 2006. And they made about a little over 2 million Model 70s. So there's a lot of these rifles around. And the calibers, they had it in 40 different calibers. And they have a magnum action, take 375 H&H length cartridges. It's been chambered in a giant list of cartridges. But this is American rifle and America's cartridge, the 3006. This particular rifle, made in 1979. It's a push feed example. The wood on it is beautiful. We'll start at the muzzle. Has a hooded front sight. Very deeply blued, very nicely blued barrel. This is the rear sight. It's folded down so it's not interfering with the scope. 22 inches in length of barrel. 3006 has a 1 in 10 twist, and that's what this has. It says Winchester proof steel on the barrel, and obviously Winchester, New Haven, Connecticut. But the serial number says it's made in 1979. Hard plastic buttstock with the Winchester logo on there. After 64, Remington came out with their 700. Now let me go over the features first before I get sidetracked there. The wood is high gloss polish, got a ebony fore-end tip. Nice checkering, even though the checkering is pressed, not cut. Nice Monte Carlo stock. Blue steel 22-inch barrel. This is the floor plate. Floor plate is steel. I think this is forged aluminum, the trigger guard. You press this little detent, you can drop the magazine or load the cartridge at the bottom of the rifle. Kind of like a 700 BDL. And push the follower in just right. There we go. Put that back in. The gun weighs, as it's equipped with this loophole scope and sling, 8 pounds 10 ounces. not really heavy, but it's, you know, it's decent enough to absorb the recoil of the 06. The bolt is nicely jeweled, engine turn they call that. You got a nice white spacer and ebony pistol grip cap, and a white spacer before the buttstock. It's a really nicely made gun. The post 64 Winchester Model 70s, push feed, not Mauser type action. The checkering is pressed by a machine, not cut by hand. That's a labor-saving thing. The receiver was a forging, and then they machined it after they forged it. They switched to hammer forged rifling. Before 64 they had the cut rifling, and it's more expensive to do. The hammer forging, which a lot of firearms today have, the barrels, they put a carbide mandrel in the steel, and these giant hydraulic hammers pound on the barrel until they squeeze it and squeeze the rifling internally on the barrel. It's quite a process. The trigger pull in this gun, I measure with the trigger pull gauge, is 6.5 pounds. Breaks cleanly, every little creep. It's pretty flat, and yep, there it goes. It cocks on opening. There's two-piece bolt, and it's welded to the body, but 2 lugs in the front locks Mauser. The lugs are horizontal and they lock vertical. The safety on the gun is 3 positions on the back of the bolt. This is fire. The middle position is safe. You can lift the bolt up and, you know, take cartridges out if you want. And all the way to the rear is safe also, but you can't open the bolt. So 3 position safety. And if you put it on safe, you pull the trigger, nothing happens. You put it on the back position, nothing happens. Only on the front position. Remove the bolt. There's a little bolt catch here. Open the bolt, cocks on opening. Push the little lever down and pull the bolt out. As you see, this is very much like a Remington 700 bolt. If you know this little cut here under the lug, that's they did that to make the action a lot smoother. It's an anti-bind feature. They did that in 68 or 69 in the post 64 model, but the engine turned bolt is quite beautiful. This is the gas vent if you have a cartridge rupture, and this is actually better than a Mauser action. The cartridge case is completely enclosed by the case head is completely enclosed by the bolt, like the Remington 700. It has a push out a spring-loaded ejector and a bolt face. It's got a pretty decent size extractor in the bolt face, bigger than the Remington 700. 2 locking lugs in the front, and that's the cocking piece for the firing pin underneath, and the safety. And it's a pretty simple firearm, and very, very nicely made. They made these in all different grades. There we go. Push the lever in, and if you don't want a dry fire gun, you hold the trigger back, let the bolt go down, and it won't snap. The scope on this gun is a 3.3x9 power 40mm objective loophole. I think it's a Vari X2. It's an older scope, but it's gloss, matches the gun. It came with the gun. I got this, I'm gonna say 15 years ago. Again, out of favor, sitting on a rack, nobody wanted it. And I picked it up for a nice, very nice price. And I shoot it. I wouldn't bang around the woods hunting with this. I would do it from a stand. You know, you get to a stand and you're sitting there. But to go on a drive or run around a brush, I wouldn't want to mess the wood up, because it is really nice on this gun. High gloss finish. I have a couple other Model 70s, but they're more plain Jane versions, more suitable for banging around the woods. They make the Model 70 today. In 2006, production was shut down in New Haven, Connecticut. FN, who owns the Winchester and the Browning name. They make this rifle today under the Winchester name. It's made in Portugal, like the Browning BARs, hunting rifles. And yeah, they're okay for what they are. I kind of like the original, made by American craftsmen in New Haven, Connecticut. I'm gonna do the shooting tests. Chronograph a couple of my hand loads. I got this 165 grain core locked. What the hell is this? 180 grain Sierra Match King. I'm only gonna do one of these because they're expensive. These Hornady Super Performance SSTs. I just run one round over the chronograph. The box says 28-20 at the muzzle, so we'll see how that is. I think Hornady uses 22-inch barrels like this gun has for their testing, so we'll see if it's on the money. And their ballistics say 0 to 200. It's 1.8 inches high at 100, and 7.6 inches low at 300, and 21 inches low at 400. I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna shoot the plates at long range with the camera on the plates and the camera on me. I'll do a comparative recoil test with the 223 because it's a standalone rifle video, and I'll shoot the little ballistic pendulum plates, 223, 3006, and then if I should pop some plates out in the field there, I have one camera on me, the one with the bad sound, and the other one, the overall scene, just to show the gun shooting, the recoil you could expect, and even with a hard plastic butt piece, it really doesn't kick that bad up. It's nice and warm today. I'll probably shoot my t-shirt, so we'll see how that goes. Terminal effects test, like I said, I'll try one of these Super Performance SSTs and see how they hold together. It's got like a ballistic tip projectile. I think it's bonded. It's 180 grains in weight, which is kind of like a 165 and 180 are the sweet spots for the 06, you know, hunting wise. Heavier game, 200 grain, 220, but I have some 200 grain stuff too. And that'll be it. We'll go to the shooting, and then I'll come back. Obviously I'm gonna do an accuracy test. I forgot about that. 100 yards. I'll probably do 2 different ammunitions, different parts of the target. You know, shoot high and shoot low at an aiming point, and compare them. I'll have the camera with bad sound on the target itself, so you see me shooting, and then I'll edit in the actual shots hitting the paper down there. I don't have any sophisticated editing software. You can run them side by side or whatever. I'm just a one-man operation here. So with that, let me get to the shooting, and then we'll come back for the summary. Okay, as a chronograph, I got 5 rounds loaded in the gun. The gun holds 5 shots. The very bottom shot is the Hornady Super Performance SST, 180 grain round. The next 2 at the bottom are the 200 grain Sierra Game King, and the 165s will be the first I shoot. I got the other camera on the chronograph. I'm gonna pick the rifle up and take the shots. .24-77. I'm sorry, I have the first 2 shots of the 200 grain. I loaded them in reverse. $24.99. Second shot, and that was 200 grain Sierra Match King. Heavy for caliber for the 3006. Change the string. Next up are the 165 grain Sierra Match Kings, and 2 shots. $27.30. $26.96. Last up, see Hornady Factory 180 grain SST. I'm just going to take one shot because the stuff's expensive. It's like $2.50 a shot. And change the string. Alright. 2751 out of this 22-inch barreled Model 70. That'll conclude the chronograph portion. I was going to shoot some 180s, but I'm kind of limited. The Remington factory stuff I have is 165, so I'll probably shoot that in a regular shooting test. But on to the next item, next test. 2477. I'm sorry, I have the first two shots of the 200 grain. I loaded them in reverse. $24.99. Second shot, and that was 200 grain Sierra Match King. Heavy for caliber for the 30-06. Change the string. Next up with 165 grain Sierra Match Kings and two shots. $27.30. $26.96. And last up, see Hornady Factory 180 grain SST. Just going to take one shot because the stuff's expensive. It's like $2.50 a shot. And change the string. All right. $27.51 out of this 22-inch barreled Model 70. Okay, back at the 100-yard bench. I'm going to fire two 3-shot groups. The first group will be the 165 grain core lock, point and soft point, and I have 180 grain Sierra Game Kings hand load. I'm going to shoot that at the bottom target. There's two targets on the 100-yard. So how the video goes, I'm shooting off the bench here, and then after that I'll splice in the hits at 100 yards. Put my ears on and try 3 shots of the Remington 165 grain core locked. And that's what they look like. Okay. Those are the 165s, and now the 180s. Okay, I'm gonna go down range and look at that. Stop the camera. Okay, at the 100-yard, I'm gonna do 2 3-shot groups. First one up here will be the 165 grain core locked Remington, and I'm gonna fire 180 grain Sierra Game Kings. It's a hand load at the bottom target, just for group. And I don't know how my voice is coming over here, but I'm going to zoom in, go back to the 100-yard bench and take the shots. Let's see. All right. It should be good. Okay, zoom this out. Okay, gotta speak into this pretty loud. This rifle, like the 165 grain core locks, basically half MOA, 3 shots. The 180, about a 2 1/4, 2 1/2 MOA. And that's typical of different bullet weights, different ammunition, different point of impact. So I'm going to go do the steel plate test now off the bench, and we'll set the camera up for that. Okay, the accuracy target, I'll cover it in the summary, but these are the 165 grain core locks. I don't know how the sound is on the other camera, but half MOA, 2 are in the same hole almost. These are the 180s. So different bullet weight, different velocities, different point of impact shift. That's why it's important to sight your rifle in, especially for hunting, and the ammo you're going to use. But I'm going to do the plates now. I'm going to set the telephoto lens up and engage the plates from 1 to 220 yards. And I'm going to set that up now, and then we'll do that. Alright, I got the camera running. I loaded 4 rounds into the rifle of the, I think I got 180s in here. The ones that didn't group so good. I'm going to blast them down at the 220 yard, 145 and 100. And the other camera's on the plates. .220. I believe I pulled that. That's more like it. Do that again. It's a 220. I'm going to try the 145. And it does smack him with authority. Do the 145 again, as soon as I pull the first shot. Right on the money. And I forgot to mention, I think I said this is 3x9. This is 2x7 loopholed. I thought it had a 3x9 on it, but that's just a demo of, reaching out with the old low 6. It's capable for a lot further distance than that, but that's all I got. Let me pause this. We'll go into our next test. Okay. Alright, I got the camera running. I loaded 4 rounds into the rifle of the, I think I got 180s in here. The ones that didn't group so good. I'm going to blast them down at the 220 yard, 145 and 100. And the other camera's on the plates. .220. I believe I pulled that. That's more like it. Do that again. That's a 220. Gonna try the 145. And it does smack him with authority. Do the 145 again, as soon as I pull the first shot. And right on the money. And I forgot to mention, I think I said this is 3x9. This is 2x7 loophole. I thought it had 3x9 on it, but that's just a demo of, reaching out with the old low 6. It's capable for a lot further distance than that, but that's all I got. Okay, I'm going to do the ballistic pendulum first. 8-inch steel plates. 223, a 24-inch Savage Axis, 55 grain projectile as the base always, and then the 3006 with 165 grain Sierra Game Kings. Center plate will be the 223 and the right plate will be the 3006. And we'll see if we can register the comparative smack they impart to the plates. Right. One shot each. Two, three. Now the 06. Almost took the plate off the strap, and a lot more smack there with the 06. All right. Next up, I'm going to do the comparative recoil with this camera on me because it sounds better. And one shot from the 223, one from the 06. Okay, comparative recoil. I think I'm in the frame here. I just shoot the 50-yard plate, 223 up first, and as evidenced in all the other videos, negligible recoil. All right. Now the 06 with the 165 core lock, Remington. Just missed, just shot under the 200-yard plate, but I couldn't resist. Even with a hard plastic butt pad, negligible recoil is quite manageable by anybody. 8-pound rifle or 8.5-pound rifle with the scope, very easy to control. Going to try to do the terminal effects test before I lose a light, but I need another couple of water jugs. So I'm just going to run up to the gas station and get them. And we'll be back for the terminal effects test, and then we'll follow the summary. Okay, back for the terminal effects test. I got this camera on the overall scene, way back. I have the secondary camera close up. I'm going to try one of these premium Hornady SST 180 grain projectiles. I chronographed it at 2,750 feet a second out of this rifle. I think it's a bonded bullet, a polymer tip. Terminal effects target. I got 5 water jugs. First water jug, clean piece of plywood, unshot, right after the first water jug. Similarly in a heavy bone. 3 more water jugs, that's 18 inches of water. I have some plywood on the reverse side in case the projectile bounces that way off the table. I'm going to try and capture the projectile. And another piece of 3/4 ply. Another water jug, and I think I'll put another 3/4. I think I'll double up the last piece. I'm going to take the shot, put my ears on, and start this other camera. Alright, back for the autopsy of this. Did capture the projectile, good result. I'll go over it piece by piece. First jug entered here, blew it to smithereens. There's the orientation of the plywood. There's the entrance. You can see it expanding. Blew a big hole out the back. Second jug, shredded, passed right through that. It's 12 inches of water. Third jug, entrance, Blew the back out. And fourth jug entered and came to rest in the bottom of this jug. And here's the 180 grain SST projectile. It's kind of folded in on itself. I'll weigh that and measure it, but it held together good. The core stayed bonded to the jacket, so that's a good result. The 06, a fine cartridge, very useful, and that's why it's around 120, almost 120 years, and far into the future. And every rifle manufacturer makes a rifle for it. So we're going to go inside and cover everything we observed in the summary, and that'll be that. Okay, welcome back to the summary of the demonstration of the America's cartridge, America's Sweetheart, 3006 Springfield. And the platform today is a Winchester Model 70 push feed, post 1964, but still made by Winchester, made in 1979. The original Winchester company. Very fine rifle, and the shooting test bore that out. Did the chronograph, I have the results here. I'll have to, let's see, do that, too much digital stuff. All right. The first string I fired was 200 grain Sierra Game Kings, my hand load. I had to, I was going to do it in reverse, but I misloaded the magazine. The first shot, 2,000, oh, it averaged 2,477 feet a second. I didn't do the NG foot-pounds, but string number 2 was the 165 grain Remington core lock pointed soft point, standard, what you can buy in Walmart or just about any store across the United States. That averaged 2,730 feet a second from this 22-inch barrel Model 70. And then I had the Hornady Super Performance, 180 grain SST. The advertised velocity is 2,830 feet a second. And I only fired the one shot, so it was 2,751 feet a second. Ammo's expensive. The chronograph's just showing you the ballpark. 50, you know, the deviation shot, the shot is 30 to 50 feet a second, 40 feet a second. So it's in a ballpark what you expect from them bullet weights. For the, just as a recap, 110 grain bullets out of a 30-06, you'll get 3,500 feet a second. 220 grain bullets, the heaviest at the other end of the weight spectrum for the 30-06, about 2,400 feet a second, and everything in between. 165 you can get 2,800, and I think I wrote down the 180s around 2,700 on average. Like I said, this is a 22-inch barrel rifle. A lot of the 30-06s have 24-inch barrel rifles. A lot of Magnum bolt guns have 26-inch length barrels, but this is 22. Nice handy barrel. Even with the plastic butt plate, you see the recoil and all the shooting was quite manageable, even off the bench. If you're going to get stung by recoil shooting off the bench like I do in an awkward position, because the range kind of angles up. So I'm just on a little rest like you would leaning on a log, you know, not a rifle rest you can adjust. So, you know, it just gives you a realistic field condition. Did the 100-yard accuracy test off the bench. 2 cameras. This camera showing me shooting the rifle, and then the other camera, you know, spliced in afterwards for the show the actual target. And I shot 2 ammunitions: the 165 grain Remington core lock and 180 grain Sierra Game King. It's hand load I got. It liked the core lock pretty good. I believe when I sighted this gun in, I did sight it in with the core locks, and I usually sight them for 200 yards. So you're talking 2 inches high is the normal sight in. for the cartridge. It was a little off to the right there. The group is 2 shots almost in 1 hole. It's 3/4 MOA. I mean, that's you can't ask better enough for a hunt rifle. The 180s, these two were 3/4 inch, and then the flyer. Could be me, could be the ammunition. But obviously the point of impact shifts with the different bullet weights and different velocities. And that's what attempted to show you there, but that's plenty accurate. We shot 300, 350 yards on any game animal, 400 yards. The one thing in the video, my other Model 70's got a 3x9 loophole. This is a 2x7. I think it's a 40mm objective. It's an older loophole. I think it's a Vari X1 or 2. I have to look. But it's a gloss and matches the gun nice. It came with the gun. Did the steel plates at range. I missed the first shot, but that was me. That wasn't the rifle. I shot under the plate. And just tagging the plates at 200 yards, 145 yards. I think I fired 5 shots there. Did the ballistic pendulums, the little 8-inch plates, 223 on the center plate, and then the 3006 on the right plate. You can see the vast difference in energy. The close-up, you can see the hits. On the 3006, I actually stepped in the way of you actually see me shooting the plate, so that was my error. Then I shot some rounds offhand that just, the various steel plates. The last shot I think I took was at from where it stands, about 200 yards at back plate, and I pulled it obviously, and I missed that shot under. I sort of kicked the rocks up behind it. But that was completely me, shooting this thing offhand. Did the comparative recoil test. No, I did that. Showed the recoil between the 223 and the 3006 and the ballistic pendulums. The recoil, like I said, even off the bench with no butt pad, no cushion butt pad, it's just a hard plastic butt pad. Not a problem. I shoot in a t-shirt, and it's like I said, that's why this rifle is this caliber is so popular. If you get yourself a featherweight 3006 weighing maybe 6.5 pounds, it's going to punch you a lot more. But this gun's 8.5, a little over 8.5, dressed out with the scope and sling. 5-shot magazine, smooth action. Trigger breaks nice and clean, almost like a glass rod. 6.5 pounds, a little on the heavy side. Not really. I mean, I like them up like 3 to 4 pounds. That's what I consider a nice rifle trigger. But it's not super heavy. It was factory. I've never touched it, never altered it. Did the thermal effects test. I used the Hornady Super Performance, the premium ammunition, and this stuff's like $50 a box. It has like a bonded ballistic type tip bullet, and it gets 2,750 feet a second out of the muzzle. The one thing with the thermal effects test, all the rifle bullets are designed to expand or perform at a certain velocity threshold. Obviously, if you're gonna shoot something 15 yards away or 10 yards away, it's maximum impact velocity. So it really puts a lot of stress on the bullet, whether it's a game animal or the water jugs and the plywood simulating that. But the bullet held together, or at least half of it did, half of the retained weight. Hit the first jug, violently blew it apart, and probably some of the fragments of the lead started leaving there. Punched through the 3/4 inch plywood, that's a heavy piece of bone. 3 more water jugs, another 18 inches of water. It was in the 4th water jug. Pretty much destroyed the 3 water jugs, and the 4th one just poked a hole in it. And I recovered it at the bottom of the water jug. I roll it around there. It's folded in on itself, but the jacket, for the most part, stayed to attached to the lead core. Part of the lead core is missing only because I weighed it, and it was 97 grains and change at the original 180. So that translates to something like 53 or 4% retained weight. The maximum expansion of this is 570 thousandths of an inch, so it's 57 caliber. But I imagine in the jugs that you see getting destroyed, fragments of lead are peeling off the front of this bullet. The core is in the back, but you know, it's about half the weight, a little more than half the weight that it started out with. But it had adequate penetration, deposited an awful lot of energy, as witnessed on the videos, and it would do the job. 3006, mainly this hunting tool. Could it be used as a defensive tool? Obviously, yeah, on your rural property, it's right, every gun's a tool. This is primarily designed as a hunt rifle, but Carlos Hathcock, the Marine sniper, his first tool in Vietnam was a Winchester Model 70 with an 8-power inertial. He probably had a bull barrel on the gun. I believe he did, or a heavier barrel. This is more of a sporter weight barrel. It's not super light, but it's not a heavy barrel gun. And he engaged people to 1,000 yards with the 3006 cartridge. It'd have to be end of the world scenario for you to be taking shots at 500, 600, 700 yards of somebody, but this rifle would be more than capable, especially if you had a different type of scope, you know, mil dot or ballistic holdover. But you got a rural property, you got a coyote running across the field, 200 yards away, boom, no problem. Obviously the wood on this gun is superb for a factory produced rifle. It really is beautiful workmanship, beautiful bluing. They're still made today by Fabrique Nationale, FN. FN doesn't build junk. I haven't handled a brand new Model 70, but I'm sure their workmanship and their machine work is superb, and you got a superb rifle. I just happen to like the older stuff, and I really like these old Winchester Model 70s, and I really prefer the push feed, which is blasphemy to a lot of Winchester people. I'm not a absolutist with firearms. I like what I like, and I like shooting what I like shooting. With that, I'll conclude this video. I did the 3-video series on the 3030, America's cartridge. Seeing as it's deer season, the quintessential deer caliber, the 3006, hunting caliber, sheep, pronghorn, feral pigs, whatever you're going after, the 3006 can handle it. It's obviously got a lot more power and range than the 3030, but in their own lanes, they're both fine firearms. Due to the widespread availability of 3006 ammunition and components and firearms, if you're going to acquire a few firearms and you want to, obtain a rifle, one in 3006 you'd be well served by it. You're always going to get ammunition for it. It's been around 120 years for a reason. It's extremely useful. It was very useful in a military role for half a century, the United States military, and in the sport field, hunting, all continents, 3006 is taking game. So with that, I'm going to end this video. If you like the content, I'm an old gun guy. Like and subscribe and share, and if you comment, I'll try and get back to you. If you got any questions, put them in the comments, and I'll try and answer them. But with that, old gun guy signing off. Have a good evening. This high-tech switch to shut the thing off. There we go. Yeah.